So next up, we have our third speaker who has been described as a groundbreaking leader with strategic, creative, and financial acumen, as well as strong business intellect that takes organizations to the next level. Definitely somebody I'm happy to meet. Nadine is the Chief Marketing Officer of BrandEq Group, a premier global marketing and communications agency and made up of level creative professionals from around the world who specialize in meeting clients, marketing, and communications goals. As a chief marketing officer, Spencer is responsible for creating innovative marketing strategies that will build clients' brand, leading to increased awareness, revenue, relevance, and respect among the target audience, which is so important in this day of age, especially in the digital world. Nadine's skills in communication and leadership with proven success in traditional and innovative campaigns across the broad spectrum of today's marketing channels will help grow clients' business. And at the end of the day, that is the ROI we all want to see. With a wide range of experience across various sectors, Nadine's career as an accomplished business executive equips her with a diverse and unique foundation of skills and strength to drive the shows that shows strategic direction and creative elements. Her extensive experience in luxury market sectors, combined with accomplished marketing abilities in premium brand management, gives her an authentic and precise understanding of consumers' tastes and direction. A results-driven professional, she is constantly working to create and expand new product initiatives to engage the customer. Nadine, welcome. And here she is. Hello.
I'm here.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Najira, you're awesome. You're doing a fantastic job. You're doing a fantastic job. So I hope, so I'm going to jump right in. Is that okay? Can everybody?
Sure. Go right ahead.
Fantastic. Good evening, everyone. First of all, before I start, I would like to acknowledge that Toronto, where I'm sitting and conducting this storytelling, is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaties, and signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. And I want to thank Startup Vancouver for having the story. You know, as a Black entrepreneur, Black woman entrepreneur, we want to have our stories told. So thank you very much, Colin, for this very kind invitation to for all the entrepreneurs. It's been really great hearing, Alfred, I've heard your story somewhat, but hearing more of it. And I'm looking forward to hearing the other stories as well. So I want to thank you for having us. And I'm just trying to advance my slide, but not able. Okay, here we are. I find it. So as been introduced, I'm Nadine Spencer, the CEO of BrandEq Agency, a strategic marketing and communications agency. And whenever I'm introduced, I always ask myself, who's that woman? Who is that woman? Because when you hear my journey, for me, it's interesting when I hear all of the things that I've done. My journey as an entrepreneur started when I was 12 years old. I was 12 years old. My mother moved to Canada, as most immigrants do, for a new, exciting life. And she wasn't able to bring her children with her. So she left me in Jamaica with a friend of hers. And that woman did not necessarily take the best care of me as she should have. But I became an entrepreneur because of that experience. So my entrepreneurial journey starts when I was 12 years old. So one of the things I love reading. And one of the persons that I admire is Joseph Campbell. He writes a monomyth, and it calls it, there's 17 stories, there's 17 stages of the hero's journey. And I sort of imagine all Black entrepreneurs, especially myself, as a hero. And we have to be heroes in our story. And what Joseph Campbell talks about, he talks about the inciting incident. That's the incident where you're called to action, where he says you come out of sleepy land and you're called into an action. So my inciting incident started when I was 12 years old. This is the earliest photo I have of myself when I'm 6. And as I mentioned, my mother moved to Canada and left me with her friend in Jamaica. And the woman did not take good care of me, but she would have each week she would send me to the marketplace like this. This is a Spanish Town market. And she would send me to the marketplace, which was about an hour away from home. And she would send me there with just enough money to buy these cakes to bring home, but no money for my bus fare back or for lunch. And so I remember the first day I went, I thought, how am I going to navigate my path? How am I going to get back home? And how am I going to feed myself for the day? But I walked around this marketplace and I found different vendors, and I made a deal with one vendor that she would sell me, 12 cakes for the price of 10. And I moved to another place in the market and I bought parchment paper and I wrapped it and I sold those cakes. And I remembered the moment the first 2 10-cent coin hit the palm of my hand. I felt liberated. I didn't know that I was an entrepreneur at the time, but I felt a sense of freedom that I was able to take something out of nothing and I made money. And I made enough money, not just to buy my bus fare home, but to enable myself to get lunch. And so that's where my entrepreneurial journey started. It started in that marketplace. And, 4 lessons I learned in that marketplace that day. I learned that as an entrepreneur, you have to look for opportunities. There are solutions. And if you think about who you're serving and your clientele and your customers, and you can connect with someone, you need to connect with someone, you can find a solution for yourself. And solutions involve people. Solutions involve people. And then also, if you listen and you read the room, as my daughter would say, read the room, you read the marketplace, you will be able to find an opportunity. And essentially at the age of 12, that's what I did. I found an opportunity. And, one of my favorite authors is Edward de Bono. He has a story where he talks about this young girl who went into, was in a challenging situation, and she used critical thinking to get herself out of that situation. And as an entrepreneur, especially Black woman entrepreneur, I understand the value of, they call it outside the box thinking, but it really is critical thinking in business. And so I became a business owner from the age of 12. 20 years later, I got into the food business. I got products on the Oprah list. I got a full page editorial into the Food and Drink magazine. I got products into Whole Foods. And how did I do that? Through being a critical thinker. I remembered how I got my product into the White House. So we made a sauce. It's called Q Gourmet Cooking Sauces. And we got that product into the White House. And how it happened to have gotten in the White House under Barack Obama. I was in Washington, and they said the White House chef was coming by to pick 5 ingredients for the menu that night. And, in walks in Guy, and he walks around the floor and he looks at all the vendors. And when he came to my booth, I said, hello, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Nadine Spencer. I hear you're looking for 4 ingredients for the White House dinner. And he says, no, I'm looking for 5. And I said, well, you already found one here. This is my product. And I explained to him why it was so wonderful. And he chose that product. So again, I was always very, forthwith, putting myself out there, just all of that from my experience of being an entrepreneur at the age of 12. I don't take no for an answer. If there's an opportunity, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to ask. And I think that's what we as entrepreneurs needs to do. So 20 years later, I had a product, in the White House with Barack Obama, and they thought it was so great. They ordered it a few weeks later back at Camp David. And that product was full page editorial in Food and Drink magazine. If you all know Food and Drink magazine, that's a huge, huge accomplishment. And then I also got, other products, the one I'm holding in my hand here, on the Oprah list. And all of that out of my resilience at the age of 12 of learning what it is to explore the market, asking for what you want, and making an opportunity out of nothing. And so, whenever I hear my bio read, I always think, who's that woman? My daughter says, Mom, you're a multi-hyphenate. And I said, what's a multi-hyphenate? She goes, you do this, you're a speaker, you're a social advocate, you're an educator, you're a mentor, you're a community leader, you're a speaker, you're a creative director. You do all these things. And what that does, for me as a business person, coming from literally zero to get to this point. So, and the point, where am I now? As Najiri mentioned, I am the CEO of BrandEq Agency, a creative marketing and communications agency. And what I do in this role is I work to amplify the voice of all our clients. But I remember going to the United States, and I participated in a conference, and there were 2,500 people in the room, all women. There were 3 diverse women, so 3 Black women of the 2,500 women in the room. And I thought to myself, I'm here in this space because we're, as an organization, BrandEq, we're good at what we do, and we're invited to the space because of our unique skill. And I wanted to give that back to women in my community. I wanted to, I came back to Canada and I started working with Jamaica 50 because I wanted to work with Black entrepreneurs to amplify our voices and to talk about and to show the road ahead in terms of what we need to do as entrepreneurs to get into these rooms. Because when I looked around in that room, there weren't many of us, and the few of us that were there were really, really quite dynamic. And then I go back to thinking about how can I bring more individuals into this space? And, so this is an image of course, the White House. When I think about my road, where I started from 12 years old, having a product in the White House. And the reason why I showed that particular image of the White House is that I was on Pennsylvania Avenue negotiating with individuals, from Ivy League universities. And I remembered one of the gentlemen in the room, his company, Black man, did $1 billion in sales, $1 billion in sales. And I talked to him and I said, how did you get here? How is your path? What happened on your path to get you here? And he talked about, all of the things in his particular road that got him to where he was. But for me, I always see myself as that 12-year-old girl. I always see myself as a 12-year-old girl, but here I am in these huge spaces. And what was interesting being on Pennsylvania Avenue, I thought, as Michelle Obama says, she says, I'm in a house built by slaves. So what does that mean as an entrepreneur? It means it's possible. Regardless, there are challenges. We've done the surveys. We've seen what the road ahead looks like, but it is possible because here I was, that 12-year-old girl on Pennsylvania Avenue, brokering a deal with another person, $1 billion in sales that they've done. And here I am, Nadine Spencer, 12 years old, at this table. And all of that, is part of my entrepreneurial journey. I just refuse to be denied. I refuse to accept no. And I just persevere and move ahead regardless of what the challenges are. And that's been a part of my journey. And of course, mentorship. This is an amazing woman. Her name is Colleen, but I had an event at the BBPA where I'm the president of the organization. And it was a dialogue with Black women. We had it for International Women's Month. And so in comes Colleen as a speaker, and she's talking to the room, and she said, when I met Nadine, who was president of the Junior League, I walked in and I saw her, and here's this Black woman leading all these white women, and I was inspired by the skill set that she had in her leadership. And again, I go from the skills that I had from the age of 12 and all the things I learned on my entrepreneurial journey that put me into this space. But one of the things that I know is that as a woman, as a businesswoman, as a Black businesswoman, I have to give back. How do I mentor the next generation? And we mentor through not just, we do one-on-one, of course, but it's how do you live in the space? How do you live in different environments? And how do you show up as you present yourself and you tell your story and you shape maybe a new narrative in what someone sees in you and the stories that they will tell. So I live to be that model for, inspiration of others as well as I've seen others be an inspiration to me. And so mentorship is a huge part of my entrepreneurial journey. But this is Viola Davis, and she talks about, the road ahead for Black women entrepreneurs. And she says, in my industry, my pathology is weakened down, I'm stereotyped. However, the road ahead for us is that we have to start our businesses. We have to write that story ourselves as Black women, as Black entrepreneurs, because the story that's told about us is sometimes not necessarily the story that should be told because of the stereotype. In our agency, we opened up a sector called BrandEq Black. We opened that about 4 years ago, and we opened up that division BrandEq Black specifically because of what Viola talked about. We need to sort of look at representation in advertising campaigns. Like when we look at that Gucci blackface campaign or the H&M campaigns and many others like that, we really wanted to address what equity looks like in Marcom. communications and campaigns. And if we don't have individuals like myself, like Alfred, like the entrepreneurs here at the table, when these campaigns are being designed, how do we know, how does the individuals at the table know who does not look like us, what is acceptable, what representation means? And so I advocate, and in my agency push, that we really need to be at the table. And so at some point I'll send the clip, and if you go on my website, you'll see the clip. But the road out there, is the challenges that we face. But the challenges that we face is one thing, but we do work to overcome them. And so when I look at, as an entrepreneur myself, the challenges that I've faced is that, lack of access to networks, lack of access to capital, to government support. And in the work that I've done now, Alfred talks about the survey that he's done across Canada. And one of the things that I've done as head of the Black Business and Professional Association is an organization that exists to address equity and create economic opportunity for Black entrepreneurs. And I'm honored and privileged to serve as president. And in 2016, I got the BBPA Harry Jerome Awards for Business. So again, when I got that award, being recognized by my community in business to a standard of excellence for the work that I've done, again, when that award landed in my hand, I still see myself as that 12-year-old girl, that sold cakes in the Spanish Town market. But here I am as an entrepreneur. I've built my business to the point where I'm recognized by my community, and I got the BBPA Harry Jerome Awards. But guess what? I got the award and I was very excited. And I thought, the press is going to come. It's going to be wonderful. But no one showed up. And what I recognized, especially running a marketing and creative agency, is that the press doesn't show up for good stories about Black people. We don't. The press does not show up for that. I did a campaign, an anti-gun violence campaign, and we had a press conference. And when I got there, all the media was completely lined up to talk about gun violence in the Black community. But here it is that 23 Black leaders across the country in science and technology and business and community and all of these great areas, and no one showed up to the party to talk about these awesome Black entrepreneurs. And so I then was asked to serve as president, and I accepted, But before that, I had taken on the role to work on the stories at the BBP, to tell the Black success stories, and my agency donated those services at no cost to the BBPA, because I wanted to be able to have little Nadines and little Alfreds and little Black boys and girls across the country and the world to sort of see what the possibility is, that the narrative that is painted by the media and the broader society isn't who we are. We're more than that. And so we did that work. Our agency did that work. And then when they asked me to serve, I served. And part of that, the awareness that we brought to the organization through my agency in telling the stories and showing the accomplishments and really talking about the possibility for Black entrepreneurial success. We then, when COVID happened, one of the things we did a survey. We did a survey with Black businesses compared to mainstream businesses. And just two of the facts from that survey, we recognized that many of the Black businesses did not have the cash flow. So most of the mainstream businesses had 6 months cash reserve, and the Black businesses had one. One of the things we recognized as well through the survey was that most of the Black businesses did not qualify and could not get the various stimuluses that was available for them. And why was that? Because they didn't have the capital, they didn't have the access to the networks, they didn't have people, the bank managers calling them and saying, hey, you should apply, and they just didn't have the resources. So in that year, we worked with the government, and I'm sure you've all heard of the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Program, and recently the loan program by the Federation of African Canadian Economics, the $291 million loan fund, including what Alfred mentioned, talking about the supports that organizations have provided, that will provide to Black entrepreneurs. And so when I think about the innovation in the work that I've done as an entrepreneur, these are the things that really drive me, that it's what makes my day worthwhile when I do 12 and 18-hour days. And I go back to being, a critical thinker and, someone from the De Bono school that works to think of other solutions for our community and, and for entrepreneurs. I run a program. It's called the Boss Women Entrepreneurship Entrepreneurship Training Program. And we have 150 boss women that show up every week to talk about training, resources, and all of those things to get us ahead, to catapult us ahead in the entrepreneurial space. And so I'm just going to share a few things that, we talk about and that, that pushes us forward as entrepreneurs, that I've learned in my own journey is, number one, showing up. Always show up. I remembered how I got on the Whole Foods Advisory Board Committee was that I went to Houston, Texas, and I went to Austin, Texas, and I heard John Mackey was going to be there. And it was a sold out room and there was just no space. But I showed up and I looked at the front row and there was a seat. There's a whole row of empty seats at the front row. So I walked right in, very bold, and I sat at the front. No one asked me anything, and I just sat there. And then who sits beside me? John Mackey himself, CEO of Whole Foods. And as they say, the rest is history. But you miss 100% of the chances you don't take and the shots you don't take. So the important thing is to show up. And then, of course, choose growth over aggression. I've learned that education is key. Always, always have to educate yourself, innovate. As an entrepreneur, I keep on top of the trends. It's what's guided me. It's what will continue to guide me. And of course, resilience. When I think about even what's happened, with COVID, resilience is so key to the entrepreneurial journey. I remembered getting items into a store on consignment. The stores weren't buying anything because they weren't doing well. I had a whole bunch of goods in the warehouse that was spoiling. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to consign it to 60 stores. And if they don't pay me, that's okay. At least it's not going bad and I'm paying rent in the stores. And I consigned the goods to all the store owners, and 59 of them, not only did they pay me for the goods I gave them on consignment, then they ordered more product. So we have to be resilient and we have to pivot and we have to try new things as entrepreneurs. And that's one of the things that I continually do. And of course, to always invest in yourself and, thinking about people. When I think about the campaigns that we do at the agency, we never conceptualize a campaign without thinking about who is this for? We speak to millions, but we tone the message down to an audience of one. And that is one of the things that has kept us as an agency. And so I think I've run out of time, haven't I, Najeri?
Yes, but I didn't want to stop you because it was so good. It's such a treat for us.
So much spice, story, and so that's basically it. But I love being an entrepreneur and I love serving in the capacity as president of an organization that works to put programs for entrepreneurs. And resilience is key, especially at times like this. And I really appreciate this platform for allowing us to tell our stories.
I'm so grateful to hear your story. And, you just remind me, for 10 years, my business tagline was defining who you are and how you show up in the world. You are the epitome of that in your story. And there's a theme here around how, the experiences we have as a young person can really shape us in the future in a positive way. And they may not be positive situations, being able to turn an unfortunate lemons into lemonade. I mean, you've been able to do that, but also the through line that I've picked up in your story is always having a positive outlook and having that determination within yourself and being courageous, because as they say, the old saying goes, if you don't ask, you don't get, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. And can you just give us a quick plug around your association, because it's a national organization, is it not? Or is it just Ontario?
Yeah, it's a national organization. It's the Black Business and Professional Association, lovingly called the BBPA. We are 40 next year. And of course, we work to address equity and create economic opportunities for Black business and professionals. And we do that.
Fantastic. Thank you. Wonderful. We'll get everyone to do that at the end as well, too. So thank you so much, Nadine. This was wonderful. Much appreciated.